One day, he asked one of his father's soldiers to help him build a swing, but the soldier looked off to the side. He was calling for the frail servant. The servant shuffled toward them quickly, but the soldier thought he was still too slow, so the servant broke into a run. Following the soldier's orders, the servant took Bruno to the storage shed in the backyard. While the servant searched for a tire, Bruno noticed a small window. Before he could think much about it, the servant handed him a tire he'd picked out. Finally, Bruno got to play what felt like the best game he'd had in a long time. But suddenly, something in the distance caught his eye. Black smoke rising into the sky. To get a better look, he slowly stood up, and in the very next moment, he fell off the tire. The servant rushed over and carried him to the kitchen to patch up his wound. Bruno asked, "If I lose too much blood, will I die?" The servant said, "No, you won't." Bruno replied, "How do you know? You're not a doctor."
Yes, I am.
No, you're not. You peel potatoes.
Practiced as a doctor before I came here.
In his innocence, Bruno assumed the man must be an intern who wasn't very good at his job, but the servant didn't say a word. He just looked at Bruno with tear-filled eyes. Maybe what Bruno said wasn't right, but at this point, the truth didn't matter anymore. Just as Bruno was about to ask more questions about the farm, his mother came in and interrupted their conversation. When she saw her son's injury, her first instinct was to glance at the servant. But when Bruno explained that it was the servant who had helped him, her face filled with disbelief. She didn't know this strange-looking man. She had never imagined that someone considered the enemy could show kindness to her child. After Bruno left the room, she stood there for a long moment, unsure, then finally said, "Thank you." The servant stood frozen, stunned. Maybe it had been a very long time since anyone had shown him even a shred of respect. One day, bored again, Bruno noticed that same small door slightly open. Driven by curiosity, he sneaked through it once more. Seeing that his mother wasn't at the window, he quickly ran to the storage shed, opened the little window, and climbed out. At last, like a bird finally set free, he ran through the sunlit woods. He crossed a stream and arrived at the farm he had dreamed about for so long. And there he found the boy behind the barbed wire. The boy's name was Shmuel. The two quickly became best friends. That day, Bruno asked Shmuel, "What do they burn in those chimneys? I saw people going in. Are they burning hay?" But even innocent Shmuel didn't know. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fence, his father's soldiers were telling his mother the real answer.